Hello, my loves. It's been a dreary day where we are, and I know most of you are experiencing this as well with the sub freezing temps back home. But the sun is coming out here to play, so I'm going to take that as a sign. I have been sitting with whether to say all of this out loud, and not because I don't know what I think, I know exactly what I think. I hesitated because I know what happens when women my age stop being polite about reality. So let me say this slow and clear. I'm talking to women who have lived long enough to know when something is off, and you know who you are. You raised families, you carried entire systems on your back. You did what was asked and then some, and you are standing at or near retirement age and looking around thinking, what in the hell is going on? It feels crazy, doesn't it? Like the world is upside down. Good is seen as evil, evil is seen as good. The world feels louder and meaner and more brittle. Right is wrong, wrong is right. Violence feels closer. Heck, even religion is topsy turvy. Compassion feels thinner. Everyone has an interpretation and an opinion, and common sense feels like it just left the building. And what's coming up for me and for a lot of women I talk to privately is anger, righteous anger, justified anger. It's the kind of anger that makes your blood boil and your throat ache to just scream. It seems to come from seeing clearly and refusing to play dumb anymore. You suddenly realize you weren't wrong, even though you've been told that your whole life when you tapped into your intuition. You weren't naive. You weren't asking for too much. You were responding to a promise that got broken. Most of us were raised with a story. Work hard, be decent, tell the truth, play by the rules, take care of your people, contribute. And if you do those things, the world will bend toward fairness. Maybe not perfectly, but enough. And now we're standing here, late middle age or older, watching that story unravel in real time. Institutions we were told to trust feel hollowed out. Leaders outright lie or speak in circles. Violence gets explained away. Accountability gets delayed until it disappears. The ground feels unstable in a way we didn't expect at this point in our lives. And that's where the anger comes from. It's not bitterness or betrayal. What makes this anger heavier is guilt. We aren't only thinking about ourselves, we're thinking about our children and our grandchildren. We're thinking about what kind of world they're inheriting. We're thinking about what we're modeling. We're thinking about whether our silence protects them or leaves them exposed. We're thinking about the trauma inflicted on children that will stay with them for generations. And there's grief in realizing that the safety we believed we were building just won't hold. There's a sharp ache in knowing you would have made different choices if you had known how fragile some of this was. And layered on top of all of that is the old training. Don't rock the boat. Don't make things worse. Don't speak too strongly. Don't sound angry. Be reasonable. Be nice. Be grateful. Or if you're from the South, just be sweet. Here's the truth we don't say out loud often enough. Silence doesn't protect our children. We do. Righteous anger isn't about tearing everything down. It's about refusing to keep up a lie so someone else does not have to feel uncomfortable. It's about naming what's broken so something better has a chance to grow. Many of us are realizing that the real danger isn't anger. The real danger is pretending nothing is wrong while everything is shifting under our feet. This anger is asking us to grow up again. We get to update our understanding of responsibility and move from compliance into conscience. We get to stop outsourcing our moral authority to systems that have proven they can't carry it. It's not an easy reckoning, and it's deeply uncomfortable. It brings grief, fear, and a specific kind of loneliness. But it also brings honesty. And honesty is what our children and grandchildren need most from us right now. Not perfection, not certainty, not false reassurance, and certainly not sticking our heads in the sand pretending it's all going to be okay. It isn't. It's going to hurt like hell as we watch a nation reckoning with the lies upon which it was built. As individuals, we don't get to cause harm to other living beings without a consequence. As a nation, we don't get to incite wars on other countries, bully entire ethnic societies, kill people and cheat people to steal their land or other natural resources, and think we're ever going to survive without a consequence. Karma is consistent, even when she isn't kind. Our children need truth, steady presence, and a willingness to say, this is not okay, and I won't pretend it is. We as a society need to hear truth consistent with what our eyes see and our ears hear from those most impacted, not from churches wearing masked disguise as patriotism, not from leaders whose very motive is greed and gathering more when they already have enough to solve all the world's problems. And definitely not from those who are determined to wear blinders and keep their heads in the sand. That's the anger rising. And it's not the enemy, it's the signal. Let me tell you something about anger. Southern women were trained to fear it. We were taught anger meant you were out of line, unladylike, too much, hard to love. So we swallowed it, smiled through it, prayed it away, worked harder, and stayed quieter. But righteous anger isn't rage, it's information. It's your nervous system saying, this is wrong. Righteous anger shows up when values get violated. It's there when harm gets normalized. It's there when people twist scripture, power, or authority to excuse behavior that would not pass the smell test in a Walmart parking lot. At this age, anger comes because the bullshit meter is off the charts. Judge Judy coined the phrase, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. Clarity arrives when you see the pee, smell the pee, recognize it's pee, and choose to recognize you've been lied to. And clarity changes the rules. I grew up in small town Mississippi. I learned early how to read a room. I learned who held power. I learned what to say and what not to say if I wanted to stay safe. In my book, I talk about learning early how to disappear inside myself and how to read people better than I read my own gut. It's a bit sad how staying agreeable felt safer than staying honest. Calling someone out came with consequences, especially if it was a male and especially if he was an authority figure. Consequences were being shamed, being painted as dramatic, being told you misunderstood, being told you hurt feelings when you were naming facts. And religion got layered on top of it. Obedience got framed as virtue. Silence got framed as grace. Hypocrisy wrapped in holy language still stinks. I don't care how pretty the sermon sounds. What worked to keep us comfortably numb before is not what will carry us forward now. One of the reasons women stop speaking is because their words get twisted. You say one thing and suddenly you're accused of something else. I've watched calm truth telling get reframed as aggression. I've personally been called a bitch, too much, too loud, too bold, too mouthy. And one of the funniest things a man has ever told me is that my balls were bigger than most men. My boundaries were labeled as cruelty. The direct language I used turned into a victim narrative that centered anything except the harm being named. That's not confusion, that's strategy. Distortion keeps broken systems intact. Confusion exhausts people. Exhausted people go quiet. Clear speech disrupts all of it. There's something about this season. I feel it in my bones, and maybe you do too. Call it fire horse energy, call it age, call it being done. I'm no longer interested in being misunderstood for the comfort of others. I'm no longer shrinking my language so someone else can stay asleep or even comfortable. I've spent so many of my recent years slaving for corporations that couldn't care less about me or my needs. I've given my time, my care, my concern, my intelligence, and even my physical health to further the capitalistic goals of some entity whose CEO makes more in an hour than I do in a year. Don't get me wrong. I don't have issue with anyone being wealthy. I have issue with someone being insanely wealthy while people who made him or her that way can't afford food, rent, or health insurance. I know that hurt people hurt people. Good grief, when do we stop that shit? When do we stop hurting each other? When did the golden rule become some printed card from the past and not something to live by? So I'm done not speaking. I'm using my voice now. Using your voice does not mean yelling. It means precision. It means saying wrong is wrong, even when it costs you social approval. I didn't survive a failed marriage, a business collapse, and rebuilding my entire identity just to go quiet now. Here's what I know. Compliance doesn't build peace. Silence doesn't build safety. Blind loyalty doesn't build trust. I know this because I've tried all three. I followed the rules. I kept my head down. I stayed loyal even when something in me knew better. I told myself this was the cost of stability, the cost of belonging, it was the cost of keeping things from getting worse. But here's what time taught me. Peace built on compliance is not peace. It's silence. Safety built on silence is not safety. It's avoidance. And trust built on blind loyalty is not trust. It's fear wearing a polite outfit. We're watching systems crack right now, and people are shocked by it, but I'm not. They weren't built to hold pressure. They were built to maintain control. They depend on obedience. They depend on people doubting their own instincts. They depend on shame doing the heavy lifting. Fear-based structures always look solid until they are tested, and then they fracture. Not because people suddenly become unruly, but because control stops working when enough people wake up at the same time. What comes next can't be built the same way. The next chapter requires discernment, not groupthink, not slogans, discernment. The ability to look at something and say, this does not align, even when everyone around you is nodding along. It requires honesty, not the performative kind, real honesty, the kind that risks misunderstanding and doesn't clean itself up for approval. It requires shared responsibility. We can't wait for leaders, institutions, or saviors to fix what's broken. Shared responsibility means we stop pretending we are powerless. It means we claim our part without inflating it and without minimizing it. And this is where women come in. Women who trust themselves are dangerous to broken hierarchies, not because they want to dominate, because they are not easily controlled. They don't need permission to know what they know. They don't outsource their conscience. They don't stay quiet to keep access. That kind of woman disrupts systems built on fear without raising her voice. Her presence alone changes the room. And that's why our voices matter now, not loud for the sake of loud, clear for the sake of truth. This is not about tearing everything down. It's about refusing to hold together what is already collapsing by betraying ourselves. The world doesn't need more compliant women. It needs women who can stand steady, speak plainly, and trust their own moral compass even when the cost feels high. That is how something better gets built. Let me be practical. Stop mainlining outrage. Choose what you let into your nervous system. Stay connected to real people. Build relationships you can touch. Learn how to say no without writing a dissertation. No is a complete sentence. Speak truth without chasing agreement. Rest is not quitting, rest is maintenance. Burned out women do not build new worlds. Take care of your body, stay mobile, pay attention to real world logistics. Community isn't a buzzword, it's how humans survive transition. Trade skills, share resources, know your neighbors. Fear shrinks when connection grows. Here's what I want to leave you with. If you feel anger, don't shame yourself. Listen. If you feel fear, ground yourself. If you feel called to speak, don't wait for permission. You don't need consensus. You need integrity. The world doesn't need quieter women. It needs steady women who tell the truth without flinching. I'm using my voice. I hope you use yours. If this spoke to you, stay close. Share it with a woman who needs to hear it. We aren't done yet, my loves.